I want to cut a relatively large mortise and tenon joint on the end of a 2x4. You'd use a joint like that if you wanted to build a workbench, for example. My guide bearing that I was using was not exactly twice the diameter of my router bit, so I had to do a little bit of calculation to work out what offset I'd need to compensate for that. I have more about that on my website if you just follow the link in the description. Alright, so here's my finished tenon template with the rounded corners mounted on a piece of plywood for mounting on the pantorouter itself, and I've also made the corresponding tenon template, which is just a rectangle that basically I'll be able to move around with a guide bearing. So now I've attached the tenon template to the template frame, and for setting it up I've got this bar. I've got some marks on here on the frame that I can align this bar to, and at that level the bar corresponds to the level of the table. So basically that bar translated with the pantograph down here is exactly the level of the table. The way I set up that bar is I put a 1/4 inch shaft in the router and I put a 1/2 inch bearing on here, and I just rested the shaft on the table, and then I knew the bottom edge would be corresponding to exactly the level of the table as well, because I had a bearing twice the size. So now my stock is 36 millimeters thick, and I want that tenon to be to be in the middle, so I want the center line to be 18 millimeters from it. But I have to double that again because everything is doubled here, so I just have to make sure that the center line is 36 millimeters from my setup bar, and that tenon should be vertically centered. And for center in the other direction, I can just move the tenon back and bump it against here and then see how far in I get on either side, and that looks about centered. So let's cut that one out. Man, that sure makes for a lot of shavings, eh? So now I have my mortise template mounted on here, which will allow me to cut the rectangular sort of mortise. But because I haven't actually tried this template yet, I'm just using a piece of scrap, and I'm going to cut a mortise in this board just to check my fit. So here's the tenon that I cut, and here's my test mortise. So let's see how that fits on there. So that goes on pretty tight. I think I might want that a little bit looser, just so I don't have to hammer the tenon in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tenon template and I'm going to make it a little bit narrower. And I mounted it right against the edge here, so I'll just sand a little bit off here with a belt sander, and that will make that fit looser when I cut the next one. And now for the mortise. So here's my adjusted tenon and the mortise that I just cut. So let's see how that fits. Good enough. You know your tenon is a good fit when it plops when you pull it out of the hole.